Susan Smith told police a black man carjacked her and kidnapped her 2 young sons. For 9 days, the nation searched for 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex, but Susan had drowned them herself by rolling her car into a lake with the boys strapped inside. Welcome back to Crime Secrets, where we expose the most shocking family murders that shattered communities. Today's case isn't just about infanticide, it's about lies, racism, and how a mother's selfish desires led her to commit the unthinkable. The Susan Smith case shocked America in 1994 and revealed how evil can hide behind a mother's tears. What you're about to hear will show you that sometimes the most dangerous person to a child is the one who gave them life. Susan Lee Vaughn was born on September 26, 1971, in Union, South Carolina. From the outside, she seemed like a typical Southern girl, pretty, popular, and from a respectable family. But her childhood was marked by tragedy and dysfunction. When Susan was just 6 years old, her father died tragically. The devastating loss left her with deep emotional scars and abandonment issues that would affect her throughout her life. Her mother quickly remarried Beverly Russell, a wealthy businessman who seemed perfect, but was hiding a dark secret. When Susan was 15, Russell began inappropriately targeting her, a pattern of abuse that continued for years. Despite this trauma, Susan maintained the appearance of normalcy, becoming popular in high school and dating the football captain. At 19, Susan married David Smith, a working-class man who genuinely loved her. In 1991, they welcomed Michael Daniel Smith, and in 1993, Alexander Tyler Smith was born. To outsiders, they seemed like the perfect family, but Susan was growing increasingly dissatisfied with their modest lifestyle. In 1994, Susan and David separated, leaving Susan feeling more abandoned than ever. Into this void stepped Tom Findley, the wealthy son of her boss at Conso Products. Tom was everything David wasn't: rich, educated, sophisticated, and from one of Union's most prominent families. Susan threw herself into the relationship with desperate intensity, believing Tom was her ticket to the wealthy lifestyle she had always craved. She would arrange childcare for Michael and Alex to spend time with Tom, often leaving them for extended periods. For several months, the relationship seemed to progress. Tom took Susan to expensive restaurants and weekend trips, and she began to believe marriage was inevitable. But there was one major obstacle to Susan's dreams: her children. Tom had made it clear he wasn't interested in being a stepfather. He was only 27, enjoyed his bachelor lifestyle, and saw children as a burden. While he was willing to date Susan, he had no intention of taking on the responsibility of raising another man's children. On October 17, 1994, just 8 days before the murders, Tom delivered a devastating blow to Susan's dreams. He wrote her a letter formally ending their relationship, explaining that while he cared for her, he wasn't ready for the responsibilities that came with dating a woman with children. The letter was polite, but firm. Tom specifically mentioned that he wasn't ready to be a father figure, and that Susan's children would always be a barrier between them. For Susan, this letter represented the collapse of everything she had hoped for. In the days following the breakup, Susan's behavior became increasingly erratic. She spoke obsessively about Tom and expressed hope that he might change his mind. Her desperation led her to a horrific conclusion: if her children were gone, Tom might reconsider their relationship. On the evening of October 25, 1994, Susan made the decision that would destroy multiple families. At around 9 p.m., she loaded Michael and Alex into her 1990 Mazda Protégé, telling them they were going for a ride. Susan drove to John D. Long Lake, a secluded body of water about 5 miles from Union. She had chosen this location carefully, remote enough that no one would witness what she was about to do. At the boat ramp, Susan stopped the car and got out, leaving the engine running and the boys inside. Michael was probably confused about why his mother had left the car, while baby Alex was likely sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger. Susan released the handbrake and gave the car a push. She watched as the vehicle slowly rolled down the ramp and into the dark water. According to later investigations, the car didn't sink immediately but floated for several minutes, during which time Michael would have realized what was happening. The most heartbreaking detail was that the car's windows were down, meaning the boys could have escaped if they had been older or if someone had been there to help them. Instead, Michael and Alex drowned in the dark water while their mother watched from the shore. After watching her children die, Susan ran to a nearby house, pounding on the door and screaming hysterically. She told the homeowners that she had been carjacked by an unknown assailant who had stolen her car with her children inside. Susan's story was detailed and compelling. She described the carjacker as a man in his 20s or 30s, wearing a knit cap and dark clothing, claiming he had driven away with Michael and Alex still in the car. Within minutes, the Union County Sheriff's Department had launched a massive search operation. Susan's performance during those first hours was Oscar-worthy. She appeared genuinely distraught, crying uncontrollably and begging for her children's safe return. Within hours, the case had become national news. The story of 2 young children kidnapped by a carjacker captured media attention across the country. The case generated intense public interest and community concern. Law enforcement launched a comprehensive investigation, questioning potential witnesses and following leads throughout the area. Some community members faced unwanted scrutiny during the search efforts. Meanwhile, Susan played her role perfectly, appearing at press conferences with David and pleading for her children's safe return. Her emotional appeals were broadcast nationwide, generating sympathy from millions of viewers. The FBI joined the investigation, volunteers organized candlelight vigils, and donations poured in for search efforts. But as days passed, investigators began noticing inconsistencies in Susan's story. Her timeline didn't match traffic patterns, surveillance cameras had no record of the incident, and her emotional responses seemed rehearsed rather than genuine. On November 3, 1994, 9 days after reporting her children missing, Susan's lies finally caught up with her. Under intense FBI questioning, she broke down and confessed to murdering Michael and Alex. The confession was devastating in its simplicity. Susan admitted there had been no carjacker, no kidnapping, and no crime committed against her family. She had killed her own children because she believed they were preventing her from maintaining her relationship with Tom Findlay. Within hours, divers located Susan's car at the bottom of John D. Long Lake. The vehicle was found upside down in 18 feet of water, with Michael and Alex's bodies still strapped into their car seats. The image of those 2 innocent children, trapped underwater while their mother lied to the world, became one of the most haunting symbols of maternal evil in American criminal history. Susan Smith was charged with 2 counts of murder and faced the possibility of the death penalty. Her trial began in July 1995, with the prosecution arguing that she had committed premeditated murder motivated by her selfish desire to win back Tom Findlay. The defense attempted to portray Susan as a victim whose judgment had been impaired by childhood trauma and mental health issues. On July 22, 1995, Susan was found guilty on both counts but received life imprisonment rather than death, influenced by testimony about her difficult past. Susan Smith is currently serving her life sentence at Leith Correctional Institution in South Carolina, where she will remain until 2025 when she becomes eligible for parole. The case continues to serve as a reminder of the devastating consequences of selfishness and the lengths some people will go to pursue their desires. The murders of Michael and Alex Smith shocked America and shattered the myth that maternal love is always unconditional. Susan Smith proved that sometimes the greatest danger to a child comes from the person who should love them most. If this case disturbed you, subscribe to Crime Secrets for more investigations into family murders and cases where trust is betrayed in the most horrific ways.